Well, illegal immigration isn't just a border crisis, it's a money-making scheme as well. Big businesses, contractors, and entire industries hire illegals under the table to undercut wages and boost profits, all while pushing American workers out of jobs. And companies can get cheap labor, Democrats can get more voters, and the taxpayers foot the bill. So here to break us down for us is Orlando Salazar. He's the CEO and founder of Voz Media. So Orlando, when it comes to this, how are we supposed to be dealing with an issue that is this large and this substantial with so many different moving pieces?
Well, that's a great question. I think one of the problems we have is that you have people on both sides of the aisle wanting the same thing. And when you have people on both sides of the aisle that want something to continue to happen, it makes solving the problem really hard, because you have Chamber of Commerce Republicans who like the cheap labor, and then you have Democrats on the other side who think they're going to get the votes. So nobody wants to solve the problem. And that's why we're in the situation we're in right now.
So do you think, in this era of the new era that we're in, I mean, all of a sudden this momentous change really in the national scene of American politics, is there a chance now to come to some solution? I mean, certainly there is some momentum with the Trump victory on that side of things. I noticed, I was on the plane back from D.C. and I was sitting next to this woman I've talked about before on the show. And she admitted at the end of the day, very liberal, that if the Democrats had had someone who was more sensible on immigration, they could have possibly won. And I wonder if that sentiment will grow. Do you think there's any hope here?
Well, look, nobody wants the bad guys in our country. Nobody wants people coming in without accountability as far as knowing who they are. So what's happened at the border over the last 4 years was horrible in every way, shape, and form. And nobody wanted that. And that definitely affected the outcome of the election in a positive way. And Hispanics in this country didn't want that either. Yeah. So what happens next? Is there going to be a true reform? Everybody is happy about getting rid of the criminals. That's great. Nobody wants those guys in our country. But what is a common sense reform that we can all come to terms with when it comes to balancing people not being here legally versus a workforce, and somehow merging those two situations to where it makes sense for the country?
Well, we look at trying to get the illegals out of the country, and ICE is trying to get this done, right? But then we have a story where the FCC is really concerned that George Soros-backed radio stations, particularly in San Francisco for this story, were exposing undercover ICE agents. So what do you make of this story and everything that goes along with it?
Well, Soros bought, how many, 16, 17 radio stations? 18, yeah. And one of the main ones he bought was Radio Mambi in Miami, which was traditionally the lighthouse, broadcaster for especially Cubans in South Florida. And he bought that and basically undermined it and basically destroyed it. So that is happening in many ways all across the country, where the liberal powers that be, including Soros, are dismantling what little Spanish language conservative news and information on the radio is available. So the fact that they're using that in San Francisco is not surprising. I think what we're doing at Voz Media and what we've created is we're hoping to offset things like that happening, and that's why we're in the marketplace. But yeah, we need more voices. We definitely need more voices combating what the Dems are doing, especially Soros.
So it seems like, it's common knowledge at this point that the left has been much better than the right when it comes to media and owning virtually all the media in this country and understanding its importance. So, you started your own media company, I assume in part in response to this, right? And you've seen a lot over the course of years as you've founded this company. So talk to us about that. Like, where are we at now? What's changed?
Well, what's changed is Hispanics have traditionally, and everybody knows, the old Reagan saying, Hispanics are Republicans, they just don't know it. And I think this election showed that, right? Mm-hmm. This election brought people to the voting booth because of these issues, these common sense issues that affect families. And Hispanics are very family-oriented people. Nobody wanted their kids playing, girls playing boys in sports, or, going to the same restroom, boys and girls, and nobody wanted that. And then the whole transgenders, surgery issues, kids not legally needing to tell their parents about what they were doing. kids being taken away from their parents because their parents weren't agreeing with what they were trying to do. This terrible case in California where they took a girl away from her mom who was trying to transition, and they kept a secret. The school kept it secret. The girl committed suicide. So Hispanics aren't in for that. Nobody's in for that. And so the election showed that Hispanics they're aware finally of what's going on. And we just need to keep that type of information going to them and keeping them aware of what's happening in our country. And previous to us being around, they had Univision and Telemundo, which was just the same as CNN in Spanish. So now there's an alternative.
So how do you project that moving forward? Because we did see the election, right? We saw the historic numbers that were coming out. So when you look at what Donald Trump has done, even in just this very small sample case of the first few weeks that we've seen, how do you see this going forward with the Hispanic vote in particular? Well,
that's a key question because what he's doing now is getting the bad guys out. So what happens next? Who is the target next, and how do they approach that? Because everybody's for the bad guys being deported from our country, but what are they going to do about that next wave, which was during the Biden administration, the people that came in over the last 4 years? How are those people handled? And then beyond that, people that have been here 10, 15, 20 years who've really kind of become a part of the matrix of our country already. What are they going to do with those folks? People that, by and large, really haven't done anything wrong other than enter the country illegally, but they've worked, they've supported companies, companies have given them jobs. Until that situation is alleviated or addressed, people know if they get into here, they can get a job. So that has not really been talked about much by the administration, the employment side. So at some point, they're going to talk about that. What happens to the employers, the magnets that are drawing the people here? Because people know if I get there, I'll find a job. So it's worth the effort. It's worth the danger. It's worth coming in illegally because I know I'll get a job.
Yeah, we will see. We will see how it plays out. It's going to be an exciting year because there's already debate behind the scenes about what to do about these things. And again, a lot of momentum rolling. So I imagine we're going to see a fast-paced debate. When it comes to the media side of this, again, I mean, it's fascinating to me that not only the audience understands, but it seems like people in business understand that there is a problem when it comes to media not serving various audiences who aren't served well, as you mentioned, the station that Soros ruined in Miami. Is there more awareness now, out there? I mean, in other words, is there like a response to Soros that's greater now, maybe among right-leaning people and understanding media, or no?
Wow, I wish I had a really good answer for that. One that I could sort of share a testimony about, but I can tell you from my standpoint and my own experience in trying to create Voz, they don't quite get it. Because we've been out there in the marketplace trying to raise money for what we're doing. And there is no George Soros out there on the conservative side willing to equate mission with profitability and say, yeah, I get the mission, so here, we're going to help you. It's all about the bottom line on the conservative side, and so it's been rough. It's been rough to get people to support. It really has.
This is something that has plagued my life and many other people. We've talked about this for years and complained about it. I've seen it get somewhat better. I think companies like Blaze are doing interesting things now. But why do you think that is? Like, why do you think it is that the right just doesn't get it, doesn't have its Soros funding media?
I don't know. That is a great question, because we've approached people that we believed would get it. And they look at our numbers and they go, well, we don't see a path forward. And I understand at the beginning, because you have to build an audience first.
Right.
You can't monetize without eyeballs. But now we've got the eyeballs. We're we're at 20 million impressions a month. We're getting 3 million YouTube views a month. And we're getting 1.6 website visits a month. So we have the audience, and they're very loyal to us. So the cool thing about social media is that our audience can communicate with us, and they tell us how happy they are that they don't have to watch Univision and Telemundo anymore. On inaugural day, we did a live show from Washington. We had 100,000 live views that day. So there is an audience, and we're reaching them, but it takes time to monetize, right? I mean, it's a slow process. So hopefully somebody out there will hear this and say,
Yes.
hey, we'll jump on board with you.
No, and it's absolutely necessary because you do see when you're only presented with one liberal option, that's terrible. Nobody wants that. So speaking of social media, where can people find you? Where can they follow you and see all the work that you guys do?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm not the social media guru for my company. voz.us is our website.
That's perfect.
And we're on all the other platforms.
It's definitely necessary. Everybody has seen what happened with the results with this election, and hopefully it will become a bigger and bigger trend moving forward.